The date is Friday, April 30th, and you're listening to Entertain This, a thought-provoking podcast encapsulating all things entertainment. This special 5th Friday episode is a real treat. We're talking about the Netflix original series called Bojack Horseman. Behind the veneer of goofy animated cartoon is a layer of hard truths and introspection, with some ongoing gags thrown in along the way. And, like it or not, it's a reflection on ourselves, too, even if you're not a Hollywood type. So enjoy!
What is up, world? You have returned once again. You've traveled so far. You look older. As always, I'm Alex.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Nick.
Another week has passed, boys. Another week that we've made it in this crazy topsy-turvy world, and people have come to us once again, seeking our wisdom, our guidance into the great unknown. What this week might we bring them to entertain their eyes, ears, mouth, maybe nose? I don't know. Half the time we don't know.
Probably disappointment in some form or fashion.
Well, usually we have a script or a roadmap that we follow. Usually we can lean on the backs of our friends and colleagues for entertainment purposes. There's a constant rotation that goes on during Entertain This, and it's broken down much like in the days of old by the cycles of the sun and moon. By the months, the days, the weeks. That's how we make things work around here. Because if I had to write an episode every week, I don't know how long this show would last before I would explode. Luckily, I have you two to also write an episode every month. So I end up only having to write one. And Nick, you end up only having to write one. And Michael, you end up only having to write one. And we have a guest on, and that does it for the month. Because you learn in first grade, every month has only 4 weeks, so we have those 4 weeks covered, and that's it. So now I ask you, let's venture together into a dangerous world where every once in a while the math don't add up. What we do then? What we do in those fancy months that decide that they're gonna just slip right under the radar and give us a 5th Friday to do something with? Do we throw off the rotation? Do we end up having guests in the middle of the month? I think that's lame.
Yeah,
I don't
Have
either.
an art exhibition. You want to do that? It's called Final Fridays.
Okay, what does that consist of?
People open up their studios. Usually this happens downtown. It's called Final Fridays, and they open up their studios and exhibit their art, and they talk about it with people. This is an actual thing. This is not a bit.
Yeah, and usually the studios also are serving like beer or cocktails.
Yep.
This is a bit because we're an audio format, and I think you forgot that for a second. That to provide that to our audience would be near impossible.
We can do some spoken word kind of art form,
Some like chicka checka boo, the cow goes moo nonsense.
I didn't want to say that.
Spoken word is, of course, a lot harder and an art form nonetheless. Yes. And I'm sure one day we'll have a guest on who is spoken word to come on and make me feel dumb, and I'll appreciate every second of it. The point is we're not qualified. We're not qualified to do that. I know one Friday we decided just to spout garbage about Skyrim for an hour, and people liked that.
That's a great episode.
Somehow
I personally like the episodes where we had like the show pickup where we picked up the opera podcast and they took over our stream one Friday. That was fun. Maybe we could do a cooking class.
I know how to cook. I have a cat named Cookie, and he can show you what he knows about cooking.
Oy.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm out of ideas. I don't know what to do with this extra Friday. Do you think we could spout garbage like this for an hour?
I mean, we're a few minutes in. Maybe
we could let's go to politics news. Where do you guys stand politically?
No. What we do? What we say wrong?
Guys.
What did I do?
What did we say?
Politics podcast.
Not going to talk politics.
Politicized this. That's what it's going to be called.
Well, I mean, we got a 5th week. If you know best, Chloe, you're the fact checker. Why don't you throw something at us, huh? What do you think we should do with it?
Absolutely. I'm here to save you on this blessed of episode 60, Entertain This podcast.
We're only 9 away from that big one.
That one's going to be special.
Nice.
Oh, it's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
But so wait, you're going to save us. What do you mean?
I would like to talk to you guys today about one of my very favorite TV shows.
Oh shit! You brought something to the table? You brought an
I
episode?
sure did. Let's go.
Did you like write up a script and everything?
I did. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
like this was
Impressive.
like this was pre-planned instead of just on the go. Like you
It
knew
was
we weren't going to have
premeditated.
something.
No.
Did you?
You never know.
How'd
I
you-
have something ready just in case.
How'd you know we weren't, Chloe? How'd you know we weren't going to have something?
Those Fifth Fridays, they'll get you.
They sneak up on you for sure. Well, we're happy to have you here and have you on staff as our resident fact checker. It seems only fair we give you your moment in the spotlight as well. So the stage is all yours, Chloe. Entertain us.
Do it.
So we can entertain you and you can entertain.
Right.
Entertain us. Good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. Today, I am going to be talking about what I consider to be one of the best Netflix original shows that's been made, which, there have been a lot of really good ones, but in my opinion, this one is the best. It is Bojack Horseman.
Hey, let's pause for a second. Chloe, will
Yes.
you move your microphone up, the one on your headset?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not currently using your Blue Snowball mic.
Nope.
It might be using it in Audacity.
Yeah.
Which is fine for me, but not for this.
Okay.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
Can you change it real quick?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Okay. The only reason that I'm asking is because if it picks up the feed from your Blue Snowball, it sends a screeching sound through our headsets, and then it will do it on our live recording.
Is that better?
Mhm. Yes.
Go ahead and
Hey.
mute it.
Okay, bro. Mute what?
It's a little.
There you go.
It's super quiet, but I can.
It's
What if I
quiet
do
and
this?
There
a
you go.
bit grainy.
Ooh, yeah, there it
That's
is.
great.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Try changing the setting on the back.
Are we gonna have to restart?
No,
No, we good.
we're going to edit all this out.
Okay. Setting like 1, 2,
flip
or
it to
3.
something else. I would flip it to 1 and then try it, and then flip
It's
to
on
2
1.
and then try. Okay.
It's on 2.
Move it away
Okay.
from your mouth.
Now it's on 2.
Okay. Do another.
No.
That's no.
I think that mic is busted at this point.
Cool.
Actually,
Oh,
that sounds fine.
That sounds great.
Okay, that's what it was on before.
Mm.
Make sure you
I don't
don't
know.
move it too much. Just have it on the table if you could.
Well, I'm having it on my lap, but okay.
Oh, you don't have a table?
I'm sitting at a desk, but it doesn't fit on the desk because if I put it on the desk,
Oh yeah, that's a non-starter.
it's a little tall.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really hear a lot of the noise when you're holding it, anyways. You're a pretty still person, so.
Yeah, I can.
I
can
think
do
that-
with-
I think
Little
that that's great. I'll worry about the camera movements and stuff, so
Okay.
you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you're fine.
I think this will work.
Can we pick it back up from where you enter, though?
Mm-hmm. Like the whole
Like
bit.
the do. No, just that part where you come in.
So like the whole bit where I play my intro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we do?
What's up,
what
guys?
we do? What we do wrong?
I do not think we should talk about politics.
I agree.
We can
I
start our own
agree. So-
podcast. It's going to be called "Politicize This."
That's
that was
pretty
a really
good.
that
That's a
was a
good
really
title.
good fact check. Checking the fact as to whether or not we should talk politics, and the answer is no. We should
No.
not talk politics.
Ever.
Okay,
never,
Chloe. So,
ever.
I mean, you're new to the show. This is your third episode running, fourth episode running our stuff for us. So, okay, you have an even say in this. It's our fifth Friday episode. What should we do with it?
I would like to talk to you guys about a TV show. We haven't done TV in a while.
Wait, you brought an episode? You brought something?
I did. I
Like-
had something premeditated
You
Uh-oh.
you
with
wrote
a script.
so you
That's
had
a charge.
So you had like a script ready, because like you knew that we weren't going to have something.
You never know. Always best to be over prepared.
Scouts.
But somehow but you were right because we don't have. But somehow you knew that we wouldn't have. So okay,
It's
I'm
weird.
not going
It's
to
almost
argue
like
with
we
it.
talked about this, but
No. What?
nah.
Us plan?
We don't pre-plan things. We let the cameras roll and just see what happens.
Just see what happens.
The irony.
Yeah, Nick's the worst at it. Nick never plans what he's talking about. Nick won't even come up with a concept for an idea until he sits down, and then it's off the top of his dome.
It's really
And
bad.
what a dome.
Mm-hmm.
What a dome it is. You're right. So you
Nick,
brought
why
a
can't
you have a TV.
Nick, why can't you be like me and write an entire script for your entire
Michael
Every
has
that I've ever done?
Michael has written several 10,000 word novellas that have been published and are selling quite well on Amazon right now, just from the research he's done for this show.
And what are you doing?
Fact. I'm the nice middle of the road guy. I read a tweet and then that's what I go off of is the tweet that I saw. That's why we had
Tweet.
the reoccurring Lil Nas X series that I did the past couple episodes. Anyway,
Okay.
not to take away from your time any longer, Chloe. We owe it to you. You do so much work for us around here. This fifth week, this episode's yours. Take us into the rabbit hole of whatever you've brought to us.
All right, gents. Today I would like to talk to you about what I consider to be the best Netflix original TV show. There are a lot of good ones, but I think this one is the best. Today we are going to be talking about... Yeah, you can guess.
Breaking
Ozark. Netflix original.
Bad. Oh,
Netflix
okay.
original.
Arrested Development.
Not technically a Netflix,
original. Guys,
Some of
Office.
last couple seasons.
PewDiePie.
And it's not The Crown either, because I don't really care about that.
Peaky Blinders.
We're talking about Bojack Horseman.
Oh.
Hey.
I was close. I said Arrested Development.
This is a good
yeah,
show. I've seen
they
it.
both have Will Arnett in them, so you are
Yes.
close.
They
Yes.
both feature characters who refuse to grow up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are stuck in Arrested Development.
Hey, that's the
That
name
term
of the
means.
show. So has anybody but me seen the show, or am I just talking to? Oh, Nick's seen it. Okay,
I've seen
okay.
it. I raised my hand for you audio folks.
Yeah, when we first started dating,
great.
we did a full watch through of it. Because I had watched everything except for the last season, and then I didn't watch the last season for like a year after it released. So you were like, we have to sit down and watch all of it, or else you're not going to get it. And you were right. But I have watched it. I probably have had 3 or 4 watch throughs now.
Yeah, and this is one of those shows that's entertaining when you watch it, but when you get done, it's kind of like eating a whole bag of chips to yourself. You don't feel so good afterwards.
It's funny. It's funny when you're watching it, but when you start to get introspective about it, it hurts really
You're
bad.
like, oh, my tummy don't feel good.
It's one of those shows.
I've only seen one episode that I watched over the shoulder of another person on the flight I was on. Without any subtitles. That's the only context I have.
Okay.
It's one of those shows. It's like internet Swiss cheese because it's got just a bunch of rabbit holes you can fall down. Like if you go onto the internet, you just look up Bojack Horseman, you'll find a bunch of like analyzing videos and breakdown videos and character deep dive videos. And
Well, we're going to
it's
talk
worth all of
about why.
Yeah.
Why
Just,
people do
just to be
that.
clear, this is the show where the main character is like a horseman.
Mm-hmm.
Hence
This
the name.
show
Yeah.
takes place in a universe where humans and anthropomorphic animals coexist. Yeah. So it is described as an American adult animated tragicomedy sitcom. The creator's name is Raphael Bob Waksberg. It came out, let's see when it premiered. It was August 22nd, 2014. And the last time it aired was January 31st, 2020. So not that long ago. It has a total of 6 seasons and 77 episodes. And it's very special. And one of the things that kind of bothers me is that the show has a big reputation for being like really depressing and very upsetting. And I've had a number of people tell me, well, I don't watch that show because I'm sad enough as it is. And I get that. There are some very dark themes, which we'll touch on later. But what I love about the show is that it is so deeply, truly funny and well written. And it is worth rewatching because you notice something new every single time. There are a bunch of elements that go into the show that make it worth the rewatches. One of those is sight gags. They happen a lot in the background. It's easy to kind of not even notice them because, you know, the dialogue's happening and something's happening in the background. And, you know, it's not until your second or third rewatch that you're like, wait a second.
The Simpsons are very good at this. I'll say that much.
Yeah. We love animation.
So is this one of those shows that you can just like rewatch over and over and over again? Like
I
know
certainly
a lot of
think
people,
so.
I know a lot of people who like put on like The Office and they'll just have that like constantly running over and over again just in the background.
Yeah. And, you know, you can definitely use it for background music. But what I like about all of the rewatches is that I really do notice something different. There's so much to look at and so much to listen to. It really combines like a lot of audio jokes and visual jokes all happening at the same time. And a lot of those happen in like transitions.
I think the difference between a good animated adult show and a bad animated adult show is like the difference between like a 5-star restaurant and McDonald's. Like you'll go to McDonald's when you want something quick and just want to like do it because it's there and easy. But shows like Bojack are like you sit down and you're like, I want to experience every flavor that the creator wanted me to experience because they put so much hard work and effort into every second of this show and everything that you see that it's worth all of those rewatches to make sure you experience every flavor of that meal that they've created for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the background gags are worth.
Right. I listed some of my very favorite background gags. One of them is they're like panning over a construction site and there's a hammerhead shark that's using his head to nail in a hammer. Classic stuff. The character Cameron Crowe, you know, director of Almost Famous, Say Anything, Jerry Maguire. He's a character because the show is about Hollywood, but he's played by a raven, and he makes that very obvious. The character Sarah Lynn is surrounded by lemurs all the time because, fun fact about lemurs, they love getting high. That is their favorite pastime. They eat caterpillars that have like cyanide in them, and then they just trip balls. So the only people that ever hang out with Sarah Lynn are lemurs. There's a cat that gets stuck in a tree, and then firemen come to rescue her, and she's like, I'm sorry, this keeps happening, you guys. And there's a whole episode called Fish Out of Water where Bojack has to go to an underwater awards ceremony and he's wearing, you know, like a big bubble head thing and he can't talk. So it's essentially a silent film. All of the gags become visual. They kind of force themselves into that pigeonhole, but they do it so well and the score is so beautiful. It's like it's on Spotify if you just want to listen to it in your spare time.
Maybe.
So sight gags are something that's awesome, but a lot of it is also wordplay. They are so good at the wordplay, and the voice acted cast does such a good job. What's up, Alex?
I've got
before.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say before we move on from sight gags, one of my favorite things in the show.
Yeah.
It's a sight gag. It's not even a sight gag. It's one of my favorite things of the show is a sight storyline that happens from episode to episode where one of the main characters in the background of one episode like meets this like pregnant woman and becomes like friends with her, and then in the next like background gag while the like actual show is happening, this main character helps deliver the baby, and then like in the next like episode or a couple episodes you see the couple again like waving to the main character who like helped them, like they have the baby in the like little bassinet and the baby's like waving, and like it's an ongoing thing. It's like in the background one of the main characters helped a couple like meet and then met them when they were pregnant and then helped them deliver their child, and then later you see them as like a full family, and it's not something that has anything to do with the plot of Bojack Horseman. It's just a story that happened to this one character like in the background of these couple episodes, and it's never talked about. But if you're watching, it's like, holy shit, I just watched that play out.
Wow.
It's just like
it's like a whole plot that happens
for the audience. Like if you're really paying attention, it's just something to give to people who are really going to watch it. And I love that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that stuff that can just go right over your head, the first or second time you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you were saying this, like the voice cast does a really good job, and I'm looking at the IMDb right now, and this cast
It's insane. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, you got Aaron Paul, Allison Brie, Will
Aaron Paul,
Arnett, Paul F. Tompkins. You've got Kristen Shaw, Patton Oswalt, J.K. Simmons, Stanley Tucci, Remy Malek, and like these are all people that are in like not just like guest starring like 1 or 2 episodes. These are like
recurring characters,
10 episodes plus, up to like
almost
77.
Every character,
yeah,
every character that you meet, almost every character is a constant character. Like you will see them in season 1, you will see them in like the very last season. You will never see a character only once. I would assume.
That's pretty true.
They take care of almost every character that they see.
Good.
And
There's
a
like
lot of the cast has
few
that only have like, and a lot of them have multiple roles, which just proves like how talented they are as voice actors, that they can play all these different people. Yeah. Especially Paul F. Tompkins, who plays Mr. Peanut Butter. He voices like so many other characters. And one of my favorite things about watching the show for the first time is I would be like, I know that voice, and having to like look it up and be like, oh my God, I love them. They're in this show. Like, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, my favorite moment with that was Mr. Peanut Butter has a brother named Captain what's his name? Captain Peanut Butter. And Captain Peanut Butter is played by Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
and he shows up in multiple episodes. Because it's Weird Al. He's the brother.
He's the guy.
Oh, it's so much fun.
This sounds like the perfect show for me because like I currently have like I don't memorize like visually or anything like that. I memorize like audio.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I don't remember people's faces. I remember people's voices.
Oh, you have a case of face blindness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're a weirdo.
Oh, okay.
But like what
that's
that means
rough, man.
What that means though is like one of my favorite games to play is like whenever I'm watching like any sort of like animated show or anything is like, oh, I know whose voice that is. Like I can pick out their exact name, even if they're putting on like some weird accent or something. So this seems like the perfect show for me.
Yeah, you're going to love that aspect. And a lot of it is also like the wordplay. They keep pushing the voice actors to just do this crazy shit. Like, for example, Princess Carolyn has a line. I wrote it down. Obviously, I can't bring the genius that she brings to it, but they love playing with sounds. So she's talking to Diane, and she wants Diane to go have dinner with this actress called Courtney Portnoy and like do a profile on her. So they're on the phone, and Princess Carolyn says, how would you enjoy joining Portnoy for a scorched soy porterhouse pork 4-courser at Koi? Glorify your source, but don't make it feel forced, of course, and try the borscht. Diane's like, what?
Yeah. Another thing that I like about the show that's maybe underappreciated, maybe you'll get to this later, but is it Diane? Is that she's the lady that's dating Mr.
Peanut Butter? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So her ringtones are always NPR goofs. They're like,
yeah.
This is
all
things
rings considered. Yeah. And it's like, hi, I'm Ira Glass, and this is the story of your phone ringing. What does it mean when a telephone rings? And then she picks it up.
As an NPR listener, I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. There's a little pop culture references in there for everybody.
We dig it. We dig it.
But they're also like, they love to lean into the fact that all of these anthropomorphized animals just like live in this world. And it's not really a big deal. Like the Airbud International Airport, where Airbud is the sponsor of the airport. MSNBC is called like MSNBC.
Like
and
ocean.
Yeah, and a whale is the main broadcaster. And they have like little scrolling bars on the bottom of NBC all the time that have just the funniest headlines. One of my personal favorites is giraffe employee breaks glass ceiling. Got me.
So good.
I know.
Yeah,
dumb little goofs like that I love.
Well, that's the thing. They're not even dumb little goofs, because like in Family Guy, you'll get like dumb little goofs that are like, that was dumb shit, but it's funny because of how stupid these people are. These are like, that's funny, and it's funny to me because I get it. Those are like, haha, I get that. And that's what makes it funny. And that's the kind of comedy that's like quality comedy.
It's
like
referential humor, I guess.
Yeah. And the pop culture references never ever end because it's a story based around Hollywood.
Hollywood.
So they're like, right. One of the stories is that the D goes missing from Hollywood sign, so they call it Hollywood for the rest of the series.
Like, this is normal, whatever.
Yeah. One of my favorite gags is that some of the like leading Hollywood men, they've changed their names. So like when they do the awards ceremony, it's like Bojack, Brad Pitt, George Clooners,
George
my favorite is Lerna Nerner de Kerpikarn.
Lerna Nerner de Kerpikarn.
Oh my god.
And they're like, these are names. Bojack Horseman, not a name.
Mm-mm.
You have to be like Lerna Nerner de Kerpikarn.
You have something in your mouth? Are you okay? What do you...
Sound like a
Sometimes-
dog trying to talk and just ate a bunch of peanut butter.
Mr. Peanut Butter.
Mr. Peanut Butter.
Full circle. There we go.
And they use some names like Quentin Tarantino is played by a character called Quentin Tarantuolino, who is a tarantula.
Oh, that's funny.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they do fun little stuff like that.
More feet.
Some he's got the hands.
More feet for feet god.
There are a lot of celebrities that voice themselves to our hilarity, like Jessica Biel. She rags on herself a lot during the show. Daniel Radcliffe comes on the reality show called What Do Celebrities Know? Do They Know Things? Let's find out. And Zach Braff voices himself in a number of episodes.
Nice.
Zach Braff has like a huge part in it, if I remember correctly. Like Zach
Especially-
Braff is
Yeah, in the episode Underground, he gets like a whole little thing going.
Mhm.
So, a real woman named Margot Martindale. She's a character actress in Hollywood. She's very famous. She's always called beloved character actress Margot Martindale. But eventually, later in the season, she becomes fugitive from the law Margot Martindale.
Oh.
So that's a fun character arc for her. And they'll do things like they referenced a new Paul Blart sequel. They make it a trilogy, and it's called Paul Blart 3 Till Death Do Us Blart.
Pretty good.
So
It's
that's
pretty good.
actually that's a Mabim Bam joke that
Is
they've
it?
been doing since 2015. They have a podcast that they do yearly called Till Death Do Us Blart, and it's because every year on Thanksgiving they release one episode of this podcast where it's a rewatching of Paul Blart Mall Cop, and they do like voiceover for it or like commentary, and they promise to do it every year until they die. And then when a member of the Till Death Do Us Blart podcasting team dies, they have already picked their replacements who will take up the mantle, and the next year will be on Till Death Do Us Blart. And theoretically, this podcast is supposed to go into infinity every year they watch Paul Blart Mall Cop on Thanksgiving. I don't
really
know
hope
who
that-
did that first.
I hope the Bojack team is nodding to Mabim Bam. I would love that.
Yeah.
I also
Yeah.
would love that.
Fun aside with that, so they just recently announced, there was a big thing that happened in the NFL a while back where there was like a team, the Saints were like targeting like other players to like purposefully injure them.
Damn.
And it was like a
you do.
big deal.
Still not as bad as the
and
Pats deflating balls, but bad.
Easy.
But they're making a documentary about this, and they got Kevin James to play the head coach of the Saints. And so all that
Christ.
went around for like 2 weeks after this was announced was Sean Payton, the coach of the Saints, his head photoshopped on the poster of Paul Blart Mall Cop. And it
I
was
love it.
incredible.
Paul Blart is so memeable.
You see those things where they take the
We
letters
really
and
let-
they like make a ransom note out of the movie title. It says like Paul Fart or something.
Good one.
I love those.
We really
it's,
let
it's more
these
funny than I'm
these
making it up.
fifth weeks get away from us, guys.
I'm sorry. Bojack, what about him?
Yeah.
All right. Well, my last reference to pop culture here is that one of the big plot points in Bojack, which is true of real life as well, is that there is a massive business monopoly, and the biggest mega corporation in the universe is called AOL, Time Warner, PepsiCo, Viacom, Halliburton, Skynet, Toyota, Trader Joe's. And they say that just as much as they can.
Yeah, that's all of them.
Like there are 6
But it's
companies.
not. That's not a list. That is the name of the company. It has
because
engulfed
they've all
of
acquired
those.
each other.
Yeah, so they have become that.
Right.
It's gonna happen. I mean,
It's a conglomerate.
Yeah, I guess if you smash all the words together and you don't put any spaces in between them, technically that's not copyright infringement.
nope. Glove didn't fit. That's how it's
Yeah.
not.
It's fine. A lot of book and movie and artist names are switched around to reference the animal universe they're living in. Some examples include Krill and Grace, which it's noted that it did a huge, benefit for the Krill Society. The Great Gatsby,
That's
when
fine.
Harry met Snappy, and you see a poster with a man and a snapping turtle. Quack DeMarco, the Beatles, who are they're Beatles. You get it.
Yeah.
They're Beatles.
Beatles. The Beatles.
And Warner Brothers is called Warbler Brothers.
Because Warbler the bird, for those who don't know the
Right.
birds.
Nice, very good.
So it never stops. But it's not just that stuff. Like the characters are all really interesting, and they all have like these deep inner lives.
It's
they
not
go
just
through.
ha-has and hoo-hoos, people.
Of course not.
It's oof sometimes.
That's what separates, in my mind, this show from all the other animated adult shows. Is like this one takes you places. Like
Right.
even
Like there is all that funny stuff, but there's so much more on top of it.
Yeah, and it's not like, oh, it was funny for a while and then it took a sharp turn to like the sad zone. Like
Right.
it's funny at the same time. Under all of that, if you're watching closely, you're like, oh my god, they're using humor as a coping mechanism, and that's when it starts to hurt.
Right.
Hey, that's too familiar. Stop it.
Yeah,
And like the more you
you're
get
telling
to
me,
know
buddy.
the more you get to know these characters, like they all do bad things and they all hurt each other and things go wrong because that's life, Shit hits the fan sometimes, and it's very honest about that. But going in a different direction, one of my favorite characters is named Todd Chavez. He is voiced by Aaron Paul, who
Love
does
Todd.
such a good job, and he is always getting into kooky capers. Like
He's
his
the one who
thing-
does the baby delivery in the background.
Yeah, he's a baby delivery guy.
That's funny.
But there's so much slapstick comedy that goes along with Todd. At one point, he dreams up a drone throne that his friend Emily makes for him, and everybody's like, "How can it be a drone if you're sitting on it?" And he's like, "Shut up!" But there's like
It's
a
a
seat
manned
he gets
vehicle.
on, and he's
Seats. Yeah.
controlling it with the remote control. He comes up with this whole idea for a rideshare app where all of the drivers are women. But then it gets kind of boring, and the men are like, "Oh, they're not that sexy." So then they start using sexy killer whales to drive their cabs. So
Very
that
nice.
Yeah, that must do great.
yeah, sounds good to me. And he also comes up with a business venture about. He's like, "Why do dentists suck so much? What if we got a bunch of clowns to train a bunch of dentists to be more fun, and we had the dentists train the clowns to do dental work, and then they can all have a good time together." So he tries out this business venture. It fails terribly. He releases them into the woods, and then they all get rabies. And then he has rabid dentist clowns in the woods that he
Stay
just has to
away from
deal
my
with.
teeth.
And it doesn't go away either. Like that's now a permanent fixture
It's
in
an
this
ongoing
world.
bit.
Yeah, it's just a new thing that everybody's dealing with.
Everything that happens in this show is a permanent fixture that, until it is put to rest, will continue on into eternity.
Right.
Jeez, they're really milking that joke cow all the way through.
Nice. Another one of my favorite characters is Mr. Peanut Butter. I'm sure you guys will agree.
He's a golden retriever. How can you not love him?
Yeah, he's so cute and so fun, but he's also kind of using that to deflect a lot. He's a complicated man. I think he's sad inside, but he's a happy dog on the outside. But there's a running joke where anytime he's at a function, he's like, "Erica, what are you doing here with the right number of ears?" And he'll just leave the scene. So you never get to see Erica. We never see her, but he's always at parties like, "Oh, Erica, thank God. Let's talk." So Erica's just this mysterious, background character. And he's
Erica?
like, right, who is Erica? At one point, he's like, Erica, you can't be here. This place is filled with children.
At face value, I kind of see Mr. Peanut Butter as that annoying guy that's doing a little better than you, and he's always like, he's your evil twin, but he's also like better than you in every single way.
And he functions that way for Bojack because I can't believe I hadn't gotten to this yet. One of the main like plot points of the show is that Bojack was on this 90s sitcom called Horsin' Around. He was the titular like dad character, and he adopts 3 little kids that live with him. It's like a Full House spoof, I guess. Whatever. And Mr. Peanut Butter.
He is a Bob Saget character for sure.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Bojack is so Bob Saget it hurts, like down to the stories you've heard about Bob Saget where he was like inappropriate on set around the children and like was super problematic because of that, and like he fell off the wagon and like turned into a complete shithead. Like he is so close to Bob Saget. I thought it was on purpose for a while and then found out that it was loosely inspired. I was like, you could have told me this is just the Bob Saget story and I would have believed you.
Just Bob Saget.
So Mr. Peanut Butter stars in untitled Horsin' Around knockoff that is eventually called Mr. Peanut Butter's House, where he adopts 2 orphans, Zoe and Zelda, and they become like, Zoe's the happy, fun, bubbly, popular one, and Zoe's the one who's like, capitalism is destroying us, and Halloween is just an excuse to be racist.
Both true.
Yeah, so there's an episode where they're like, are you a Zoe or are you a Zelda? Nixon, total Zelda. George W. Bush, Zoe.
But the interesting like backdoor thing about Mr. Peanut Butter is he's introduced to us as that character who is like the guy who Bojack always loses out to, and like Bojack hates him and is so grumpy about it, and like always just feels like he's stealing his spotlight. But then what he is to us, we realize that's all he is to himself too. And like, he's looking for like so much more than just being the guy who is better than Bojack, or like he has so many other layers than just like, I'm the competition that beats out the like protagonist. He too is looking for that other thing that he is. And that's his struggle, is trying to find that. And in trying to find that, he develops into his own protagonist.
He does, and he's almost nihilistic, but he comes at it from a very positive perspective, which is why he's so interesting. One of his best quotes is he's talking to Diane, and Diane is like, I mean, if you do all this stuff and nobody cares, like, what's the point? And Mr. Peanut Butter says, the universe is a cruel, uncaring void. The key to being happy isn't a search for meaning. It's just to keep yourself busy with unimportant nonsense, and eventually you'll be dead. And
Ouch.
To him, it's optimistic, because it doesn't matter what happens as long as you're having fun and doing stuff. That's the point of life. So that's Mr. Peanut Butter's philosophy
because
on everything.
To him, no dogs go to heaven, so there is no afterlife. He's like, you just gotta live it up here, because after this, you're fucked. So,
man, I'm kind of amazed now that they didn't do an All Dogs Go to Heaven reference.
They should have.
Yeah.
Huge missed opportunity.
Yeah. Totally.
I would have loved to see him be like, oh yeah, I tried to get cast in that, but they said my monologue didn't go well. And then like flash to his monologue where he's just crying. And he's like, I just don't get it.
Why is it so sad?
Like, do all dogs go to heaven? Or everyone's
I should hope they do.
no.
So we know that there's a bunch of like pop culture and movie and TV show and book references. But something that I think is pretty neat is there's a little wink for those visual artists out there too, because there is a massive list of real famous paintings that are in the background of famous people's homes. Like the list just goes on and on, because they're rich and they can buy famous people's paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little B story where Wallace Shawn is asked to play Bojack, and he's like, I don't want to play that boob. And Princess Carolyn goes, you keep buying expensive Rothkos. What do you want me to do? And you see his house is like wall to wall covered in Rothkos.
Nobody likes Rothko.
Wallace Shawn does.
People with money like Rothko.
But if you're looking in the background and you're paying attention, you'll see these paintings and be like, where have I seen that before? And chances are, like, it's a museum. It's online as like one of the most famous paintings of all time.
You've seen it. Yeah. They're really simple paintings.
So, Chloe, are we beating around the bush, or are we saving it till the end to talk about the titular character of Bojack? Because we have yet to do that.
I mean, I was kind of waiting to do the sad stuff near the end, which I guess we're coming up on that now. My next topic I was going to talk about is the episode called Free Churro, which I'm sure that you're both familiar with. But
Nope.
Michael, no?
I'm sure I've seen it. Which season?
I'm sure you have. It's the last season. It is the episode where he gives the eulogy at his mother's funeral.
This is an episode that I have there are people who do full watch throughs of this show, and I respect that. I watched it fully 4 times, and I was like, okay, that I'm good. But this is an episode that I will turn on while working on something, and it has that same feeling that a podcast has. You can just sit there and listen to them go, and you're like, oh man, every word of it is so deep. And if we could do an entire episode on just this episode of Bojack Horseman,
we really could. It's just Will Arnett giving a 23-minute monologue about this character's relationship with his mother. You learn very early, because in the first season, Bojack is having Diane write a memoir for him, and one of his big hang-ups is that his parents were not great. His dad he wanted to be a writer, but then he married his mom, who was the heiress to the Sugarman Sugar Cubes fortune, and got his dad a really nice job. And then they both were just like, we didn't want this kid. Ew. So they just they basically abuse him his whole childhood. They don't care about him. They tell him they wish he was never born, all this stuff. And obviously that ruins his life a little bit. And when he's finally faced with the fact that his mother has died, his eulogy is it's just so poignant, and he has a way with words.
I would say that Bojack Horseman as a series, the reason why it's called Bojack Horseman and not Animal Farm or something, which also would have been a great title for this
That's already
show,
taken by a book.
Yeah, but to play off of it, but the reason why I think it's called Bojack is because you spend so long dealing with Bojack, and it is from his point of view, basically, the main story is, that you pick up on all of his flaws, because he is a very flawed character, his narcissism, his selfishness. He never
his
thinks of his
alcoholism.
consequences, his alcoholism and things like that. Yeah, well, the list goes on, but they're all important.
Yes.
And the reason is because I think it comes to terms not only in this episode, Free Churro, but also in the episode where he basically runs away and goes and lives at the Sugarland Farms, and he's fixing up the house. But this whole show is an arc where you learn all of these terrible behaviors that Bojack has, and then slowly, as he breaks down as a character, you break into his hard exterior, and you figure out the reason why he does everything he does, and what it is that causes him to be a narcissist, and why he always is trying to impress people. You learn that like Chloe was saying, his parents were basically abusive, but what they instilled in him was a constant want to impress and prove that he was worth something to his parents. And that's the reason why he got into show business. And that's the reason why he did this and that and the other. And finally, when he was tired about it, and he didn't want to deal with his mother anymore, that's finally when the ship cracked and sank, and he had to deal with all that. And that's kind of where we find him, is at that point in his life. But even so, it continues past that of I don't think while we're watching Bojack, even up until the final episode, I don't think Bojack ever truly accepts some of the shit that's happened to him. And I think even after the show, there's things that Bojack deals with that we can't be a part of with him.
Right.
But during the later seasons, it's so important to think about his parents and to think about Diane and his relationship with Princess Carolyn and Sarah Lynn. Yeah. And all of these people, it all loops back around, and you realize we are who we are because we're shaped by the people around us. And that's the whole point. So that's what makes this show so freaking incredible for me. And what makes the Free Churro episode so important is because the Free Churro episode is the episode where you finally break through to Bojack and you're in there with him, and he's no longer this asshole you're watching. He is this asshole who is also a part of you. That's why I can't stop watching that episode. It is writing goals to write an episode like Free Churro.
Yeah. And that episode and a lot of the voice actors and the show itself have been heavily awarded for the writing and the way that they deal with, you know, these themes of depression and trauma and addiction and Bojack's self-destructive behavior. But they also touch on stuff like racism and sexism and sexuality and the human condition itself. Like Herb Kazaz is the creator of Horsin' Around, and then it comes out that he's gay. He like gets caught doing illicit acts and they kick him off of the show.
Yeah, he's gay in the 90s.
And that's not allowed yet. So they ask him to leave quietly.
If there's somebody out there who's listening right now who has yet to hear about Bojack, knows nothing about it, and is just listening to us talk right now, I implore you that as you're listening, Google Bojack Horseman, look at some pictures of the show, get a feel for what the show looks like, and then remember everything we've set up to this point, because at face value, you would never expect this kind of thing from the show. And that's why I think it hits hard enough. Yeah.
People see it and they're like, I don't really like animated stuff. And it's like, no. You don't really know what you're getting into here.
Yeah, and I think we just don't like animation, and that's cool too. But
well, in this case, they're wrong.
It's the writing that'll carry you.
I'll agree with you, but I don't know if I could take a controversial opinion on that last episode. I didn't really like it.
The very last episode?
Yeah, the Free Churro episode or whatever you were talking about.
That's not the last episode.
Okay, well, the Free Churro episode where he's giving the eulogy to his mom. I didn't really like it. It seemed like a callback episode, and I don't really like those because they're lazy. You know, they're like, let's play clips, let's play best this or that.
It is the opposite of a callback episode. It is every episode before that. Face value,
though. Now that you're saying all these things, I'm gonna be like,
no, I agree. Hey, but this is a podcast, so we're going to talk about it. Every episode before that episode was leading up to this episode. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't write this episode first, and then they worked backwards from there.
Okay.
Which makes it way different. That's probably not what they did, but it's written well enough that that's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like because it's a culmination of all of these feelings that Bojack has had towards his parents his whole life. And now his mom's gone and he'll never really get to tell her any of this stuff. So he says it at her funeral instead.
But let's not forget that this is a comedy, so it always ends on a bang. And spoiler alert, we find out Bojack gives this 22-minute eulogy at the wrong funeral.
Oh,
it's not even his mom's funeral. He's at the wrong place. He opens up the casket after being like, Mom would want to be seen. And then like he opens it up and it's not his mom. And he's just like, damn it, what funeral home is this? And it goes to black.
Oof.
So that comedy is always right there creeping.
Tragic comedy.
Definitely.
Wow. Yeah, maybe I'll rewatch it because I remember the first time I watched it, this was years ago. This is before, might have been when I was just starting to talk to Natalie. So 2017 or so. And that was when, you know, I was kind of dealing with some of those things that Bojack's dealing with. Cause like, you know, you graduate college and you're like, where do we go from here? I didn't have a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you do when you're done? Do I get a job? Do I just keep working my whatever job, or do I find something that's like with my degree? And I was just kind of, you're in an in-between land, and then you watch Bojack and you're like, this is a
I
good
get
show.
it. He
This
feels
is a good
as
show.
lost as I do.
Yeah. he doesn't have a compass, but he's figuring it out. I don't know if he does figure it out. He doesn't in the end, but yeah,
He figures it out as much as any of us really figure it out.
Yeah, you never get there.
Nick, I wonder if you've seen every episode of Bojack Horseman, because it doesn't sound like you have. The last season of Bojack Horseman was released while Chloe and I were dating. So if you stopped watching a long time ago, you have not seen it all.
I probably watched the first 3 seasons because that was all that was out at that point.
Yeah.
Well, now there are 6.
Now there's 6, so now I got to go watch them.
Yep.
And now I have to go be sad again.
I think you might have gotten right to the point where like things were starting to go real downhill for Bojack.
Maybe.
And that's where you ended it. And that means that your last episode probably did suck.
It probably did. Yeah, it might have been that free churro episode that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
something to consider on your next watch through, and one of my favorite kind of elements of the show is every season except for the last one is 12 episodes, and in the 11th episode, Bojack goes on a bender of some kind, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, something, and he comes to like this, this realization, this like out of body experience where he comes to terms with a lot of stuff. Yeah. So the 11th episode is always like really trippy, but by the 12th, he's like, okay, what did I learn about all that that just happened to me?
Bojack's a great example of what not to do. But we still do it anyway at the end of the day. It's like,
well, maybe not everything in moderation.
I've never been on a bender of any kind, so let's get that out of the way.
That's what
His
makes
problem is he never stops.
Yes.
He doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah, that's what makes this horse ironically human, which is kind of the whole point of the show, I think.
Yeah.
Y'all know that show Access Hollywood?
Yeah.
No.
Barely.
It's the talk show with Ryan Seacrest and everything, where they're like, let's talk about what everybody was wearing on the red carpet.
I didn't know he still had a career.
He's a disc jockey now, doesn't matter. But in Bojack Horseman, it's called Excess Hollywood. And I think one of the big things in Bojack is just how much excess takes place. Money, drugs, alcohol, women, like all this stuff that Hollywood chooses to exploit and overuse. And, how he has to fight through those things and how everybody deals with it. Each character has to deal with it in their own way.
Mm-hmm. That's showbiz. And even us regular people have to deal with it too,
Right. There's a lot of repercussions. But he's friends with regular people that when they learn about some of the terrible things he's done, they're like, oh, okay. So like every other man in Hollywood, he's using his power to get things. That's one of his big problems and something that he eventually has to stare right in the face and deal with the consequences of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's also so funny.
Jeez. It hits you right where it should. A typical show.
It does.
Like
and it's never made me stop thinking about life and, your own personal philosophy of how you're going to do things. Everybody's got to figure it out. And this show is it's a really great look at the human experience.
Yeah. You could go one step further and be like, hey, these are all the philosophies that people have tried out over the years. I don't know them all. I never took a philosophy class, but you
each
start
one
to
of these
see
characters has a different mindset.
Yeah, like nihilism, and then covering that up with optimism, and then you have like this kernel of sadness, and you overlay a glossy layer of like hard sugar coating, where it's like, oh, I'm happy, I don't good.
And Princess Carolyn is just like, the only thing that matters to me is work, and I'm just gonna bury myself in that, and everything else will come in time.
That's no.
And then she's 45 and she wants a kid,
Yeah.
The untitled Princess Carolyn project.
Right. Well, does the project have legs? Yeah, she has legs.
That's what Princess Carolyn names her baby.
At first.
The untitled Princess Carolyn project.
Okay.
Legs.
Well, does it have legs? Yeah, she has legs.
Yeah, she has legs.
Sure hope so.
Well,
so that was my breakdown of BoJack Horseman. I hope, Michael, that you really do entertain this. Nick, you ought to go back and give it an entertain again, because it is worth it. It's sad and it's funny and it's devastating and it's hilarious. Like, that's life. It comes with both.
Yeah, it honestly sounds right up my alley. Like
up your alley.
Did I get it? I don't think I did.
It really seems like the sort of thing that like I would randomly stumble onto on Netflix and just end up like loving.
Yeah,
it's just
man.
Surprising that it hasn't happened yet.
This is your next binge watch, I think. So maybe a future quick this for Michael will be a revisit to BoJack as he tells us what he thinks.
Like, hey guys, I watched it. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
In your own special way.
That'd be really interesting.
I don't do it justice, but BoJack is it's one of those shows that hits like an Adult Swim show on the surface level, and then you go a little deeper, and it's like, oh snap!
Oh my god, this is some of the best writing TV has ever seen. I'm really upset.
It's great writing.
Yeah. I mean, it deserves all the hype that it's gotten, in my opinion.
A little fun fact about BoJack that I know is season 1 got rated like a 46% on some sort of a rating database that I can't remember right now.
Like a Rotten Tomatoes type.
Yeah. And season 2 came out, and somebody wrote back to this company who basically had written this review, and it was one of those companies where it's like, if we write a review, that's a review and we don't change it for anybody. And they were like, hey, you watched season 1 of Bojack Horseman, and I don't think that you watch season 2 or give a shit about where this show is going, but I implore you to watch season 2. And this is the one time that this rating network had decided, oh, we fucked up. This is one of the best shows we've ever watched. We should have stuck with it longer because we only watched one episode. We fucked up. This is great. And ended up giving it like a 100% after that. So if it can change the minds of actual Hollywood, then I think it's worth your time.
It's changed hearts and minds everywhere.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's not just about Hollywood, because if you're like me, I don't care what all the actors are doing over there. I don't care what the directors are doing. I don't care about Hollywood the place or Hollywood the idea. I know what it's about, and I still it's not for me.
And it's fun.
Why
to
are
laugh
you
at
on
them.
an entertainment podcast, Nick? I ask you every week. What are you doing here?
What
You
am I
almost
doing here?
exclusively every week put in your 2 weeks, and then you pull it back.
That's what I do. I like to keep the people on the edge. It's like, is Nick going to come back? Is he going to talk about entertainment?
When we
I'm not.
finally take like a legitimate break that's not only like 1 week long, the cliffhanger we're gonna leave on is Nick gonna come back?
Wait
Nick,
and
are you
see.
fired? But I don't care about Hollywood, so let's leave it at that. But this show isn't about Hollywood; it's about people.
Yeah.
It's a very humanist experience where it's not just about a washed up actor. It's about, like being famous at one point and then falling off a cliff.
It's about a man dealing with inner demons, some of them self-created, but real nonetheless.
Yeah.
Correct.
Self-inflicted gunshot wounds are hard.
They're
Well,
tough
let's
because-
leave
Just
it.
to the foot.
Let's leave it on this. Michael, what do you think? You're the only one here who hasn't at least seen some of it. Have we struck a chord?
Yeah. It's like I said before, it's right up my alley. Yeah, it'll be your alley. Yeah, no, it seems like the perfect show for me.
Michael's gonna
So-
entertain this.
Oh, I was gonna do that. I was saying that. I set that up
Oh,
for
sorry.
like 2
We can-
minutes. I was
we can
setting
edit
that
it
up.
out. Go
It
ahead.
had to be one of you. It's
No.
okay.
No, it's
Go ahead,
fine.
say
It's your thing. No, you're the one who
I was
likes to
gonna
say it.
your
No, it's
podcast.
okay. When we get back, we got Scott Curtis
And now for
Run
the
the ads.
promos.
on the ads.
Justin Wallace, Mitch Glasgow, and Deanna Cosby. 3 daily commuters are joining forces to create the comedy podcast known as Carpool Shenanigans. Each week we'll take a topic, tell a story, and hopefully make your drive to work just a little less shitty. Now the episode's about to begin, so we ask that you sit back, relax, and of course, let's get weird.
Hey, Cammy.
Hey, Bryant.
What do Robin Hood, Vlad the Impaler, and Mothman have in common?
IDK, what?
Well, they're all topics on our podcast Mystery, where each week we discuss a new myth and the history behind it. That's Myth Story with an IE. See you then.
Oh.
And we're back. Unfortunately, Chloe said that she had a very expensive Lego set that one of her cats just knocked over, so she had to leave us for a bit to go and clean that up. But we had a blast on her episode that she hosted for us. So you also might have noticed that we all took a chance to go and change our clothes back into the clothes we were wearing from last week. We do that for posterity because, as you may have noticed, we have brought Scott back, and we didn't want to shake him up too much by changing our clothes. We want him to have a fresh image in his mind of what we look like. So, Scott, thank you so much for coming back onto our show for a second week and for doing the quick this for us. It's an honor to have you back.
Thanks for having me. So I don't even know if you guys are old enough that your parents are baby boomers, but looking at this face, you may not recognize it, but I am a baby boomer. I was born at the tail end of the baby boom in June of 1964.
Well, you sure don't act like it. I'll tell you that much.
I know. I'm hip. I'm hip. I got a freaking chipmunk on my shirt, but
yeah,
I like that.
But anywho, baby boomers are doing some stuff, and I think the pandemic has really increased our use of social media. And what I want to do for you three guys is, first of all, apologize that you have to see baby boomers use social media, because we do stuff that should not be done. For instance, we like our own posts. And I think we think that the algorithm is messed up. We think that maybe we didn't post it, so we go ahead and like it so somebody else will like it. And you will see a baby boomer like their own post almost 98% of the time.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Right after that, guys, we share our own post. It's wrong, but we feel like not enough people saw it. And that post of a recipe for Pillsbury biscuits is really important to us, and we have to share that post. And I am so sorry about that. Another thing that is really, really funny about baby boomers is we like to talk about how cool it was before the internet. On the internet.
Yes.
We share memes like, kids today drink bottled water. We drank out of a hose. We're proud of the fact that we drank out of a hose and lived and didn't get lead poisoning and die. That's all we're proud of.
I'm sure some of you did, though.
Some of us did. Yeah, of course. But the ones that lived through it, man, we're strong. We're tough. And we sure aren't snowflakes. That's for sure.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Okay, boomer.
Oh, yeah, we do have that on you.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
The weirdest thing I've seen, though, and I'm really having trouble understanding this, I've been studying it, is boomers have a very big crush on Minions. We will share Minion memes all day. If you look at a boomer's Facebook page, it's Minion meme, Minion meme, Minion meme, recipe, I don't feel good today, Minion meme. That's all it is. It's all Minions. And I don't know why. There are groups with hundreds of thousands of people dedicated to Minions. The average age on those groups is 62.
I believe it.
I have been following these groups. I have been infiltrating these groups. These people are old. They do not know what the internet actually works like.
Yeah, you're doing God's work out there.
Yes. So I've been studying this. I've been taking notes. I think the only thing that Minions can do for us is they look a little bit like the pills we take to stay alive.
These must be good for me. They have to be, right?
Yes. And that's usually my closer on that joke. But I gotta say, good. the other thing I'm seeing is I don't know if your grandparents do this or not, but you'll post something about the podcast and they'll post right underneath it, hey, did you like that gift I sent you for your birthday? It's not, almost like a text message, because we don't know how to text. Boomers on social media, I just want to give an apology for all of us that we're using it. And you can put us on mute and not see us and not see all the Minion memes. And that's really all I got to say about that.
So I want to counter and say, I'm sorry for us. I'm sorry for the millennials, because what we've done is we've sought out your weakness and we recognize it. But not only that, we exploit it. We exploit
we make
you.
memes.
Yeah.
We make things that you've done and we make jokes out of those. We think it's so funny when instead of using the search bar, you post a status that's just my name because you tried to look up my account and you posted 3 or 4 times. And then after you've posted 3 or 4 times, you post another thing. But instead of it just being my name, this time it says search and then my name. Like you forgot the command. It's terrible. It's worse. It's worse than that. And here's why.
I forget. Does Alex have 1 X or 2 X's? I can't remember. I'll
It's
do it all
never
the
3
time.
though. It's never 3. Don't do
always
3. If you do, you'll find things you don't like, Grandpa. But it is worse because TikTok is a thing.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I'm sure that you're aware.
Yeah.
We've taken exploiting our elderly to a whole new level with TikTok because now people are teaming up with their grandparents and making them do the WAP challenge and making their grandparents do this, that, and the other, doing skits and stuff. And they are hilarious. One that we constantly quote is, I'm going to do the ping ping pie. If you look up ping ping pie, it's somebody trying to say pumpkin spice, but her teeth fall out. And it is so funny.
Oh no!
So
Isn't
what
it
I'm
great
getting
to laugh
is,
at people instead of with people? I think that's the best.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm getting with is whatever you've done wrong, we forgive you, and we hope you forgive us too.
Yeah. We deserve whatever we get. We gave you this world. Sorry.
Yeah. Now that's a good closer.
Yeah.
We gave you this world, and we're so sorry.
Sorry.
If we had known you guys were coming, we would have cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Scott, for coming on. I want to give you another chance to promote yourself. It's a whole new episode, so
great.
Those who didn't tune in last week might not hear where they can find you. So if you want to go ahead and do that for them, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's the Behind the Bits podcast, and you can find it on all the apps just by typing Behind the Bits in. The website is thebtbpc.com. I'm on all the social medias, even the TikTok. You're
on TikTok.
Just type in Behind the Bits, and you'll find me there. And Instagram is my favorite social media avenue. TikTok, I dally in once in a while, but I really enjoy doing the Behind the Bits podcast. And of course, the BTB Internet Talk Show is on the Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling channel every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm. And you host that. Scott also does drop some spicy memes on Instagram. He makes some homebrew shit too.
Yeah,
they all are like self-deprecating for his podcast, but they're all hilarious. And I can tell that he puts his heart and soul into them.
Those ain't no boomer memes, baby.
Those ain't no boomer memes.
They're quality memes. Take that from a meme lord such as myself. I mean,
yeah. So, as always, if you guys have suggestions as to what you want to see on this show, what you want to see us cover, please reach out, send us your suggestions. You might get a shout out on the show. You can find us, like Scott, on most social medias, though he is one step ahead of us. We don't have a TikTok, and I don't know if we're going to get one. I don't think we will, but it's brave of you to have one for sure. I don't think we could ever pull that off, but If you want to send in suggestions to us, you can email us. It's entertainthispodcast@gmail.com. An easier way is to go to our website, www.entertainthis.net. There's a questionnaire you can fill out at the bottom of the homepage where you can send us a message with your suggestion. If that doesn't work for you, you can find us on Instagram. We are Entertain This Podcast, or our Twitter is entertain_this. We have a Facebook group. It is Podcast Entertain This. And that's all the plugs I have. So, as always, entertain us so we can entertain you. And you can entertain this. Have a good Friday, and we hope to see you next Friday, too. Goodbye.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye.
This episode of Entertain This was written by Chloe Price, with additional commentary from Nick Mustakangas, Michael Savoya, and Alex Steele. Once again, a special thank you to Scott Curtis from the Behind the Bits podcast for coming on and doing our Quick This. Our theme music is Rushable by Aaron Spencer, with additional interstitial music by DJW. Tune in every Friday for new episodes, and thanks for listening.